Hi guys, and welcome back to Tangy Tea of Life. I'm your host Veronica. My co-host Brittany is back tonight with us, and we have a special guest at the table tonight, Coach Travis Byrd. Hello, Coach.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. Glad to have you at the table with us tonight.
Glad to be here.
Now we're going to be talking about, we have another special tea tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about overcoming life obstacles. Now Coach Byrd is going to share his life story with us, so you all pay attention. And I'm quite sure there's a lot of people out there that Coach Byrd is going to, touch. A lot of young people out there. So listen to his story, and we'll let you start, Coach.
Well, it's a tough story, but I'm gonna start from the very beginning. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. The crazy thing about my story is I was born in the back of a police car. Now I don't know if my mom was on her way to the Brooklyn hospital system to have me, or whether she was on her way to jail. Because my mom, when she had me, she was on drugs and actually on them pretty bad. My mom had 11 kids. She gave birth to 11 kids. All of which, from what my grandma told me, just about she was on drugs while having. So when she had me, when I heard I was born in the back of the police car, it kind of raised a red flag, like, wow, was she on the way to the hospital, or whether she was on her way to jail. So growing up, my grandmother tell me stories about how my mom would come in and drop us off, and leave, and she wouldn't see my mom for weeks. So my grandmother and other family members had to take on the burden of raising kids that they did not have. Mm-hmm. So born in Brooklyn, New York, when my grandmother eventually, she said, at the time I was the youngest child. So my grandmother said, let me just adopt them. She moved us down here to Darlington, South Carolina, and a little neighborhood called Pepper Ridge. I like to say I'm a kid from the Ridge. Everybody from this area knows the Ridge, so that's what I like to say. I'm a kid from the Ridge. We moved down here. We moved into a single wide trailer that me and my brother almost burned down. We was bored one night, and we did what most kids do, and we set the closet on fire. And like some dummies, we didn't want to get in trouble. And me and my brother is like blood and water or whatever the mixture is that sticks together. Yeah. So we wasn't gonna tell. So we set the closet on fire and we laid in the bed until somebody came and rescued us. We was not leaving. We was willing to die before we got caught. Wow. So of course the flames started going, and my grandmother come running in the room, and she looking at us like, "What are y'all doing? The closet was on fire." But we wasn't gonna say nothing. So they put it out. My grandmother got a blister on her foot that she still talks about to this day, because she still have it. How while putting the fire out, I guess some of it fell on her foot. Right. So that caused us to get a new house or trailer at the time. We moved in the same spot, just a different house or whatnot. So we grew up. That was a 4-bedroom trailer. There was 7 of us, because at the time when my grandmother decided to adopt us, my grandmother and grandfather, let me not forget, when they decided to adopt us, I was the youngest child. I'm the 7th child. My sister had 3 kids, and then it was me, my siblings, my sister, her 3 kids, and my grandmother and grandfather. So that's 11 of us living in a 4-bedroom trailer. So of course we slept on the bed, the couch, the floor, anywhere we could to be comfortable. So we grew up, it was rough. I remember mornings waking up where we didn't have food. I remember going to school just to eat. I remember waking up and flipping the light switch, and the lights would cut on. And I'm thinking, the bulb blew. And as I walked through the house, I hear crickets, and you really don't hear nothing. So I realized, wow, our lights got cut off. I remember the water getting cut off, and we having to take empty soda and milk jugs to a neighbor's house to just have water in the house. So it really wasn't a crystal stair growing up for us. It really was a struggle at times. We struggled to eat. We struggled financially. We struggled as a family, period. There was some obstacles that we faced that the normal family wouldn't face because of, the things that was going on in our life. And I was that kid that took all of that stuff to school with me. I took everything to school with me. I didn't know, at the time I didn't know, but I didn't know how to handle it. My mom and dad wasn't in my life. So I went to school looking for the love and attention that they were supposed to give me. Right. So I went to class and I acted out. My grandmother and grandfather was there, but we didn't have that intimate relationship, you know, like you would with your mom or dad. And I appreciate my grandparents for everything they've done for me. I love them to death and would give my life to them. But at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that we didn't have that relationship like, you know, you would with your mom or dad. Mm-hmm. So at times, you know, I did struggle with love. I did struggle with the need to feel wanted, the need to feel needed by somebody. So I went to school and looked for it. In 6th grade, I got suspended from school, expelled from school for punching a teacher in the face. Wasn't on purpose. Was at recess and was getting into it with a student of mine, not a student of mine, but a friend of mine, and got to the classroom, started fighting. The teacher came to break the fight up. So, you know, we're like, okay. We went to the office, sitting in the office, and the principal come out. You know, she called the other student first. You know, okay. The student come out. We were so dumb because back then we would fight, and then afterwards we would still be friends.
Yeah.
So he went in first. He came out, and I asked him, I'm like, bro, what you got? Like, what did she say? Oh, I got 5 days home. I was like, bet, I can do 5 days home. Went in the office. They was like, no, you're going to be put up for expulsion. I'm like, why did he get 5 days? I didn't beat him up that bad. Like, why did he get 5 days and I got to be put up? And they was like, well, Mr. Dargan, God rest his soul, he was like, I punched him in the face in the midst of him breaking up the fight. So at that time, you know, I got expelled. Went to see Dr. Boyd, who was the superintendent at the time, over that part, you know, the expulsion part. And he sent me back to school. Finished the year out, no problem. Got to 7th grade, and just completely acted fool, you know. Got a total of 35 referrals when I was in the 7th grade. Got kicked out because I had so many referrals, and the day they sent me back to school, the day Dr. Boyd sent me back to school, this was my 2nd exposure, he sent me back again. The day he sent me back, I went to the teacher I hated the most. Not hated, but disliked the most. Sitting in her class, and she said something, she really didn't like me, I really didn't like her. Oil and water, we just didn't mix. And she said something to me, and I said something back to her that I shouldn't have said, and she sent me out. So the day I got sent back to school, I got expelled again. So that was 7th grade. I got kicked out twice in the 7th grade. Missed over 80 days in the 7th grade. So they were not, back then, there was no way. It was 10 days and you wasn't, you know, passing. Right. They were not passing me, so I ended up repeating the 7th grade, not because I wasn't smart enough, and not because I wasn't intelligent enough. It was just because I just missed so many days and I was so bad. And it burned. That 2nd year in 7th grade really burned. But I said I wasn't doing it again. So I went on to 7th grade, passed the 7th grade, passed the 8th grade, got to high school. When I got to high school, I got involved in sports. One of the reasons I got involved in sports is because I did not want to go home. I hated our home life, you know. Of course, we struggled. So as much as I could stay away from it, I was going to do so. I got involved in football. I played football, basketball, and I ran track. And I think sports saved my life. At that point, I think sports played a major part of my life because it put me around a community of friends, a community of teammates that, you know, work hard, that, you know, although I was jealous and, you know, I hated it because I seen their mom and dad coming to pick them up from practice, but I had to ask for a ride home, or I had to, you know, walk home. You know, me and my brothers walked home several times. So for me, but sports put me around the right people, and because I saw them doing the right thing, it caused me to do the right thing. Right. So I went on to graduate high school. Wasn't the first in my family to graduate high school. Went to college at Morris College in Sumter, South Carolina. Didn't know what I wanted to do in college, honestly. I went for computers. Morris didn't offer computers. So I just said, you know what, I love math, let me just major in math. Went on and majored in math. It was easy, it was a cakewalk because I just loved the challenge of working and figuring out problems. So I went on and majored in math and ended up graduating, becoming the first person in my family to graduate from college, which I thought was a huge accomplishment.
It is.
And for me, there's a lot of stuff that don't mean a lot to me, but when I graduated, seeing my grandmother cry, seeing her saying, you know, I'm so proud of you, like that did something to me. You know, that kind of, you know, everything she went through, because my grandmother, she never really worked a job in her life. After she got finished raising her kids, she had to take on the responsibility of raising 7 more kids that really wasn't her responsibility, when she could have just said, you know what, but my grandmother didn't want us to get put in the system. She didn't want us to get, you know, split up, and she's a loving, caring woman. and she would not allow that. You know, whatever she had to do, she was not letting us split up. Yeah. One of my younger brothers did get, and she still talks about it to this day. If I could have got him, I would have. One of my brothers did get put in the system, but she still talks about it. If I could have got him, I would have. So I went on to graduate college, but it was funny because I was working at the YMCA in Sumter, South Carolina, where I went to school at. Loved it, worked there for a year and a half. Some funny stuff happened where one day the kids were playing with paint, and I was over them paint, you know, over that set of kids. They looked at the kids, and the kids was throwing the paint or whatever. I really wasn't there, but because those was my kids that I got in trouble for it. Really gave that job everything I had, honestly. And then one day they called me in the office and said, you know, we're gonna have to let you go for vandalism. And I'm like, vandalism? Like, I had nothing to do with it. Well, those are your kids, and nobody cleaned up or after them, so we're gonna have to let you go. They let me go, and that same day I drove out of the YMCA. I was in Sumter driving to Darlington, which is about a 40-minute drive, and I got a text or a call asking about a substitute position at a middle school. Wow. So I thought that was God working in a funny way, you know. Got that call, and you know, ever since then I've been at the middle school.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. So.
Look at God.
Yes, ma'am.
One door closes.
Right. One door closes, another one opens.
Yes, ma'am.
So you grew up without your parents, your mother and your father.
Yes, ma'am. Grew up without both of them.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
So are they in your life now?
No, ma'am. Never knew who my dad was, and my mom, she lives in New York. She's still alive, lives in New York. That's just a relationship that hasn't been restored yet, for various reasons. I'm open to it, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to go into play. So for me, that it's kind of, you know, iffy, because like I want that, but I don't want to have to be the one, you know. Right. So for me, it's like, but I need that closure for me. Honestly, I need that closure for me.
But you want her
I like that you said yeah.
Right. Yes, ma'am. And I just, you know, it's hard, you know, trying to be the first one, you know, because I'm like, you know, why you didn't. All of my life, you know, even when dating, you know, I've always felt the need to feel wanted or needed by somebody. Yeah. And I think that traces back to my mom and dad not, you know, being there in a sense.
Yeah. Wow. So how old were you when you started feeling the effects of your childhood?
I'm 27 now. I would say I was about 24, 25 when I really started to think like why I was doing the things I was doing. Because honestly, I had no reason to be doing them. But I think it's because I wanted the love and the attention and just to feel wanted and needed and accepted by somebody. There's a lot of stuff, even, you know, growing up in the struggle like we did, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I did in spite of. And although I'm not blaming it on that, because I like to take ownership of what I do, it plays some kind of effect, you know. I forgive my mom and dad for not being there, but I had to take ownership because I had to take the power out of their hand. For me, I had to free myself, you know, of it. And although there are some things that I went through that I said like, man, if I would have had a mom or a dad to at least guide me or show me the way, you know, my life would have turned out a little bit different. You know, made some mistakes that if I had somebody there, I probably wouldn't have made. Right. Did some things that if I had a dad there that I probably wouldn't have did. So unlike some kids, you know, I'm not even going to say most because I know the fatherless rate is out of the window. But unlike some kids, I didn't have, you know, that father figure there to tell me and show me the way. So a lot of stuff I had to learn through making mistakes. Right. You know, learn through bad decisions, learn through bad choices. Yeah. And I've accepted it. You know, all my life I've been blaming, like, man, I want my mom and dad, you know. Right. So now I fully accept it. You know, it's my fault. It's nobody else's fault. And I can take ownership of that.
That's big. Yeah. That's big.
And I feel like a lot of kids that go to school and act out, they're looking for that love. They're looking for that attention because they're not getting it at home. So, you know, your story is, you know, what kids are going through today, you know? Wow, that's huge.
And it's great for them to see because it's, you know, it's that one example of someone who didn't turn out you know, how it's portrayed in stories and movies, you know, you turn out just fine.
Right, and I tell you, I didn't choose teaching. Teaching chose me. I've never said that I wanted to be a teacher. Like I said, it fell in my lap. And it was funny because when I got the call, of course I was a mathematics major. I always knew I had a passion for kids. But so when I got the call, they asked me to be a long-term sub. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. I have no experience at all. You know, I got the call, but I didn't get the official call till one day I was sitting at home, you know, laying on the couch watching First 48, one of my favorite shows. I got a call and said it was a Saturday, and it was like, do you want to start on Monday? And I'm like, well, I guess I'll start. I mean, so I went in. School was it was a week before the kids came back, so I'm in there rushing, don't have no clue what I'm doing. Winging it. Putting any and everything up on the wall, just trying to make it look good. Just did not know what I was doing. But I knew one thing going in, that I was going to be able to have a relationship with the kids. So even if I knew I couldn't teach them, I could teach them. Not even, maybe I couldn't teach the content, but I can teach them life.
Right.
You know, because I can relate to most students, and honestly, most teachers can't. Most teachers can't relate to students, and for me, I get hated on by it. It's jealousy or whatever, because I do have a relationship with kids, and my relationships are different from your natural teachers because I understand, you know.
Right.
That's something you can't teach. You can't get that in school. There's no school that you can get that.
They do not teach that. And honestly, I was a long-term sub for 2 years because I struggled with passing the test. Although I went to school for math, that test was just another level.
Yeah.
I failed that test 7 times. Passed it on the 8th, and I passed it just when I needed to, because my principal came to me. He was like, I need you to pass this test. The district is really on me. You know, I let you do it for a year, you know, long-term sub, but a long-term sub in the same classroom for 2 years is even terrible. And I allowed you to do it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, we can't do this for 3.
So we got to get it done.
Yeah, we can't do this for 3. So I took it fast. You know, I failed it one time. I called my best friend and was like, man, I don't know what I need. She was like, you need to fast. You know, I fasted for 30 days. I failed that test 7 times. Fasted for 30 days. On the 30th day, I went back to take my test. I needed 165 to pass. I hit the click button. A 165 popped up.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at that.
And I've been teaching ever since. 2 years long-term sub and 2 years official. This is my 4th year teaching, getting ready to go into my 5th. And the relationships I had kids call me, you know, dad. I had kids call me, you know, uncle, brother, you know, friend, you know, and I'm okay with it. You know, most teachers won't be, and I'm okay with that. You know, there's a lot of,
you know, it's what they
right,
need.
exactly. There's a lot of stuff some teachers won't allow, but for me, it's like I understand.
Personal.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and I can relate to them a lot more.
Yeah.
And I love it. You know, I love it with a passion. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
But see, that's what most kids need, especially if they're not getting that love and attention at home.
Yes, ma'am.
If they're getting it from their teacher, that's like a big deal.
Right.
And see, you understand that directly because you're living proof that you just, when you're in that classroom and you see those kids, you never know what they're going home to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
You never know what they're going home to or what they're not going home to. You know, it's simple stuff that we take for granted.
Right.
You know, I walk in the house, put the lights on, cut the TV on, kick back.
Right.
You know, it's stuff like that. You know,
and
you never know.
There's a lot of kids that going home and don't have anything to eat.
Thank you.
You know, like they only get their meal at school.
At school.
And that was one of the reasons why I look forward to going to school. I look forward to going to school to eat, you know. And I was that kid that asked you for your lunch. You know, if you ain't wanted it, I wanted it. A lot of my friends didn't understand why I did that. You know, to this day, they watch this, they'll see like, you know, wow, they understand. But for me, I was that kid that went to school to eat because I knew 9 times out of 10 when I got home there probably wouldn't be nothing.
Right.
And if there was something, there's 11 of us in the house,
Right.
so it's probably slim to none.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
And now that you mentioned that again, I truly commend your grandparents because, you know, something that I've noticed now, you know, they don't make grandparents like they used to.
They don't.
You know, I mean, they just don't.
Right.
And to take on that sort of commitment, I mean, that's a lot.
And it wasn't easy because we gave our grandparents and then
I mean, I have 2 I have to feed.
yes.
I mean, you know,
Yes,
so I
ma'am.
mean, that's a lot.
Yes, ma'am. And it wasn't easy. That's why I commend them. Like I said, they put their life on hold to raise 7 more kids when they actually could have went on about their life, you know,
Right.
and let us, you know, go our separate ways. So for me, you know, that's why they get my utmost respect.
Yeah.
Utmost, yes, ma'am.
So your siblings, do they have contact with your parents, or
Well,
is it?
my oldest sister just passed last year. She was the oldest out of all. Her and my other 2 oldest, they got a relationship with my mom. For me and the younger ones, it's kind of a little different, you know. Never, cause the reason why they have a relationship or had a relationship is because they got to experience her first, you know, before our grandparents.
Gotcha.
For us, it's like they never really been there. My mom just came down for my sister's funeral back in September, and out of my whole life, that was my third time ever seeing her.
Wow.
She reached out a couple of times through Facebook. She reached out a couple of times. I go to my grandmother's house. She's on the phone with my grandmother, want to talk. That's not the right way to go about it or the right time to do it, you know. And I'm not going to sit here and talk to you like everything is okay. Like, there's a serious conversation that needs to be had.
That's a 101 conversation.
And so it's not like, but like I said, I've accepted it, but I had to free myself, because for so long I was holding that anger and bitterness inside of me. So I forgive her, but, I also know that, it still needs to be had,
So is she friends with you on Facebook?
Not anymore. I had to end up blocking her. Oh. Honestly, I had to block her.
I was going to say, well, she'll see this.
Probably will, but no, I had to end up blocking her. It was just too much for me, and I can't fake it. I can't fake it.
But that's some people's way of addressing something without addressing it. We all know that person that instead of just coming and saying, I'm sorry.
Right.
They rather come, kiki a little bit, talk about the weather. If I act normal, maybe they'll go with the flow and act normal too. But like you said, if you're a person that you just can't fake it, if you need that moment of a true apology, a true some people, you need that.
And everybody don't know how to approach it, and that's what I had one thing, because I had to tell myself, like, what if she don't come? What if you? Of course, I probably would never know who my dad is, so I had to free myself, like, Mama and Daddy ain't coming. So what? Am I going to live the rest of my life waiting for it and, missing out on opportunities and, not reaching my dreams and goals because of it? Or can I accept it and take ownership, and then that way, if I take ownership, they have no control over it no more. Now it's in my hand. And that's one thing I had to do for myself.
And see, that's big. At least you found it in your heart to forgive her, but you still want that closure.
Yes, ma'am.
You still want her to reach out and, you really don't know the reason why.
Right. Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I can only imagine. This is my parents. They've been married 50 years, and we've always had, thank God, me and my siblings and I, we always had our parents around. So, I mean, just hearing your story, that is...
Could imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
It's heartbreaking, but just to know that your grandparents were there to take that load, you and your siblings, like, that's huge, because you turned out to be a very... You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
and they had that discipline too, I think that's one of the things the kids miss in the day. They discipline. And I think that's another thing that plays a huge role in my life, the discipline they gave us. Because we could do absolutely squat, and if we did, we got in trouble for it. Our grandma, she didn't mind using the belt. She didn't mind using the broom, whatever, she didn't mind. And I thank her for that, and now when I teach and, I got kids that come in and say, oh, I got a beating, and the other kids pick him, I'm like, this kid might be something one day.
Right. Exactly.
But, a lot of times in my head, they don't really understand what I'm saying. So I'm like, don't just pick at her, because that's teaching her discipline that you might not be getting,
And
that's the thing, you see that less and less. Less and less you see that.
That's why, and those that get disciplined, you can tell the difference. Like, you can really, they're scared to do anything. And not that they're scared of their parents, like, they just know better. They do their work, they do this, they do that. And like I said, I was the same way, once, but I wasn't afraid of my grandparents either, in a sense. Like, I just knew I didn't want to get in trouble because I didn't want to be.
Right.
But you see it every day, in the schoolhouse, those that, because I remember one year I had a girl, every time I threatened to call her mom, boiled down crying. And I'm like, well, I don't want to get a beating. And so sometimes I didn't call, because at some point it seemed like fear to me.
Right.
But at the same time, I knew she would get more discipline. So there was sometimes, I threatened to call, but I didn't call because I just want you to act right.
You knew you had it in your back pocket.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So what advice would you give young kids that may be going through what you went through, not feeling loved at home, not getting that attention that they need? Like,
I would say find a mentor, and don't give up, because it's gonna be hard. The days seem never ending. It seems like it's, that's one of the things I battle with. Talking to some of my students that go through stuff, I'm like, golly, they're so young. They got so many years of this, to still come. But find a mentor, somebody that cares and been through, and I think that's one of the things that kind of helped me out as well. Although, my mentor growing up, it's funny because Dr. Boyd, the man over the superintendent, his son, Andre Boyd, was a mentor. He took me and my brothers in.
Great guy.
Yes,
I worked with him.
Okay, yes, that's my mentor. And we still talk to this day. He's one of the guys that took me and my brother in, spent countless time with us. We can call him whenever we needed something. He was always there. Spent the night at his house. Just did everything for us. And I think looking at him, and at the time, his wife, just looking at them and just looking up to them, I think they were great role models. They helped us, they kept us away from the house. Although the house wasn't, but they just knew we struggled. They knew our story. They met our grandmother. Nothing bad was going on at our house. I don't want to paint that picture, but they just kept us away, kept our mind off of it. We was always doing something. I credit my basketball skills because he used to always come get us, take us to the park. Yeah. He bought us a goal. At the church we used to play, he kept us in church, our relationship with God. So sometimes for me, it takes somebody else's belief in you for you to start believing in yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, I always questioned Dr. Boyd, like everybody that was going to see Dr. Boyd at that time, he was sending them to alternative school or sending them home for the year. And I went to go see him 3 times in 2 years. He never sent me, he sent me right back to school every time. Wow. And he told me he seen something in me.
But that's what I was going to say.
He seen something in me.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know what. Like, I'm like, just send me away. Like, I'm acting like this, But he seen it in me. And like I said, if they can find a mentor, somebody that care, and just keep believing and keep working. That's what I had to tell. Just today, I had to tell a young student, like, keep working. If you do so much good, good is going to come from you. There's no way you can do all this good, all this hard work, and nothing comes from it. Mm-hmm. But you just got to keep a level head and know that the days, they're going to turn over at some point.
Yeah.
But find a mentor, never give up. Set your goals, go grab them. Continue to move forward no matter what happens, and just keep a level head because it's hard, going
hard.
through that, and having to deal with that on a daily basis,
Yeah.
But the mentor, I think, and just my mindset of like, I don't want to go back here, I don't want to have to go back to living like this or, being like
motivation.
This. Yes, because a lot of kids use it as an excuse. A lot of people use it as adults as well. Mm-hmm. And you can either use it as an excuse or you can use it as motivation to go reach your dreams and goals.
Right. And a lot of kids are feeling like they feel that pressure, not only at home, but they feel that pressure from the kids at school as well. So they like, I don't know which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah, I feel like getting a mentor is, or going to talk to your pastor at the church or,
But I think everybody needs that, because I think that's one of the things, before Andre, Dre came around, that's one of the things that I battled with. Like, I didn't have nobody to tell me this or show me this or, do this for me, So I had to learn through mistakes and learn through bad decisions. And, even now as an adult, I still make mistakes, still make bad decisions. I'm not blaming nobody else, but, like I said, the need to feel wanted, the need to feel, it still haunts me right now as an adult.
Right.
As an adult, it still haunts me. And that's not nothing you can run and hide from.
No.
Because a lot of kids nowadays are searching for approval, validation, confirmation. And with the social media, the way it's at and everything, a lot of kids are going down the wrong path, doing things, and some of them do got their mother and father at home, but, it's just tough for them.
Yeah, hanging with that wrong crowd. I know about that. Well, mother, if you're out there, reach out to this young man. Well, shout out to your grandparents because they did a fabulous job.
I wouldn't mind meeting them.
Everybody says that.
Tell them to give me the secret.
Everybody says that. Everybody. When my sister passed last year, and all the staff members from the school, they was like, "Yep, we going back to visit grandma. We going back to visit." Everybody falls in love with her.
Yeah.
Everybody.
That's one of those grandparents that you can call, what was it, Big Mama?
Yes.
We don't have
She
Big
was
Mama.
definitely, everybody was at everybody in the neighborhood. You know, like I said, I'm a kid from the Ridge, and everybody in the neighborhood used to be at our house. It's just every day. She didn't mind. She used the ice cream truck used to come. She'd buy a bunch of ices, and they gone in one day.
Yeah.
She was just that, you know, person, you know, that everybody came in and playing video games. You wouldn't understand it, but if you walked in our house, there's like 15, 20 people in our house playing the game.
And she didn't turn nobody away?
Nobody away. She would never do it. Never do it.
Wow.
And it got so, you know, to the point where nobody knocked no more. Like, I'm talking about for years.
They coming in the house.
For years. Like, first thing in the morning, everybody just open the door, walk in. You know, we could still be in the bed asleep. That's just how, you know, she was the mother of the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
awesome.
ma'am.
Coach, we're so glad you stopped by.
No, thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for telling your story.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm quite sure it's going to touch someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know, that's like I always tell the guests, your story, I don't care if it touched one person. As
That's
long as
all
it
that
touched that's
Right,
all that
right.
matters. As long as it touched someone.
Yes, ma'am.
But thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, that's going to do it for Tangy Tea of Life. We thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave comments below. If you would like to be a guest on Tangy Tea of Life, make sure you go to our email, tangyteaoflife@gmail.com, and don't forget to click the bell so that you can get notifications when our next video arrives. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.